Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and greetings to all of you. This is an awareness campaign video on the movement of trade and importance of transport infrastructure in the rural area. The two states that we have chosen are Terengganu and Sarawak. Meanwhile, the two countries are Bangladesh and Cambodia. So before we dive into the main topic of this video, let me briefly explain to you on what are rural areas. So rural areas are the polar opposite of urban areas. Rural areas, also known as the countries, have a low population density and a lot of undeveloped land. And economic activities in the rural areas are more than just agriculture. Rural economies also include agricultural process, mining services, tourism, and many more.
Sarawak, the largest state in Malaysia. It is located in northwest Borneo Island and Kuching is their capital city. Because of its natural resources, Sarawak specializes in the export of oil and gas, timber and oil palm, but also possesses strong manufacturing, energy and tourism sector. However, most of the land in Sarawak is mostly the rural areas. There are many issues and challenges in Sarawak for the movement of trade in the rural areas. Number 1, the dependency on the river transportation. According to the UNDP, there are approximately 600,000 people that still depend almost entirely on the river transport such as express boat, longboat, or speedboat because they do not have other transport modes and facilities. Number 2, lack of road connection. In Sarawak, there is no direct road connection to go to Sarawak rural areas. This caused them to have a limited and slower movement to get other necessities goods and also services. And lastly, least developed areas. Due to the limited private investment and a very complicated local authority procedure, the rural development are slower, indirectly making people in rural areas having a difficulty in accessing the electricity and water supply, schools and primary education, health services, and lastly, road connection and also mobile coverage.
Terengganu's main economy was agriculture until the discovery of oil and gas off its coastline. Now the two biggest industry in Terengganu are the oil and gas industry and the tourism industry. There are three issues and challenges that we have identified in the movement of trade in Terengganu. The first one is the absence of railway services. Therefore, the bulk cargo freight by rail is non-existent in Terengganu. The second and third point are related to the tourism industry, which are limited taxi services and bus shortages. Limited of these two modes of transportation make it difficult for tourists to travel around Terengganu.
Bangladesh is a country with 165 million of population. Their main export economy is dominated by ready-made garment manufacturing. In Bangladesh, there are only 37.4% of urbanization, which conclude that majority of them lives in rural areas. The issues and challenges in movement of trade in Bangladesh are the restriction of new market entrants. Bangladesh has a very strict regulatory requirement and new market entrants have to face significant restrictions to deal with the country. Next is bureaucracy inefficiencies. Limited political connection discourage outsiders to trade in Bangladesh. Moreover, overlapping procedures and lack of transparency in regulatory refrain investors to trade across them. Next is geographical location, where Bangladesh is not located strategically for a place to trade because they are surrounded by India from three sides. Other than that is limited export base. Bangladesh does not have sufficient supply of raw material and has to import them to use in production process. Lastly is the poor road and port infrastructure. This poor trade infrastructure leads to delay in export and import activities. Bangladesh water territory frequently flooded during monsoon season. Therefore, this is a barrier to build modern transportation and communication network.
Cambodia is a country on the Indo-Chinese Peninsula in Southeast Asia. Cambodia is largely a land of plain and great rivers and lie amidst important overland and river trade routes linking China to India and Southeast Asia. The main issues and challenges of movement trade in Cambodia is, first is the lack of development in the road system. Road system is one of the main transportation route in Cambodia. However, the road system in that country does not serve as a whole. The extensive land tracts in the northeastern and southwestern part of the country were without roads. So, roads leading to the rural areas mostly remain unpaved. Meanwhile, other roads have been surfaced with crushed stones, gravel or laterite, or have been simply graded without being paved. And during rainy seasons, road systems were badly affected when flood caused heavy accumulation of silts and washouts. Next, issues and challenges in Cambodia is the inefficiency in the rail system of Cambodia. The rail system in Cambodia consists of only 2 lines, and both lines are in a very poor conditions. The trains they are operating at a speed of approximately 20 km per hour only, and this inefficiency of railway systems makes the trading process become slow in Cambodia. And lastly is the maritime part. Maritime transportation is a key element in enabling Cambodia growing participation in global trade, and port capacity is the major constraint that faced by Cambodia in making the trading process goes well. There are only 2 ports in Cambodia that are able to handle international shipments. The largest and main seaport in Cambodia only can handle about 70% of all containerized trade by volume. Having not enough ports makes the trade processes limited to a certain volume only.
Transport and logistics services facilitate international trade and play an important role in the growth and development of the local economy. Today's trading activities not only involve economic activities in the urban areas, but also includes rural areas such as agriculture. Therefore, transport infrastructure plays an important role to facilitate the trade movement in the rural areas. The first importance is increased connectivity. The community in urban areas are enabled to connect with those in rural areas with the existence of transport infrastructure. In Sarawak, the Coastal Road Network project is designed to connect with the major towns along the coastal areas such as Kuching, Kota Samarahan, Sarike, Betong, and Sibu. Next, transport infrastructure can provide accessibility for the tourists to get to their destinations by offering bus and taxi services. Other than that, transport infrastructure really helped the local fishermen in Terengganu to deliver their catches to the local market whilst maintaining the freshness. Furthermore, the announcement of rural transport in Bangladesh also has recommended the hassle-free movement of commercial and other vehicles throughout the region to avoid multiple loading and unloading process. Last but not least, the improvements of rural transport in Tanah Sat region of Cambodia has encouraged trading activities. Many of rural community has bought motorcycles after the road improvements project completed. The motorcycles were imported from surrounding countries and were traded at a cheaper price. In a nutshell, every country has its own issues and challenges in movement of trade. Each country has to constantly review their weaknesses and take further action in solving the issues to ensure seamless trade movements.